of Allegiance pledge leaders for tonight, and I hope I get all these names right. Jason Campbell, grandson of Dane and Tamalita Campbell. Jackson Hole, son of Matt and Jennifer Hole. Everett Myers, son of Randall and Deanna Myers. Ethan Rogers, son of Brian and Shanda Rogers. If I could get those students to come up.
Okay, they're right there on the front row.
All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you,
Thank
students.
you.
Thank you. Good job. Board members, you have your agenda in front of you. What is the pleasure of the board for the adoption of the agenda?
Motion to adopt. Second.
Got a motion by Board Member Dagenhart, second by Board Member Arguelles. Any discussion? All those in favor of approval of the agenda say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Agenda is approved. At this time, I'll recognize Dr. Hefner for our honors and recognitions portion of our agenda.
Thank you, Chairman Robinson, Vice Chairman Arguelles, and board members. I want to just say welcome to everyone. This is my very favorite meeting of the year, and the reason is that we get to recognize the winners of the Christmas card contest. The reason that I enjoy doing that so much is because this artwork is highlighted on Christmas cards for the school system, and they are sent to all of the other 114 public school systems in the state. And it's just a wonderful opportunity to highlight some of the talent that we have right here in Alexander County. So I wanted everyone to know that Alexander County government and the Alexander County Central Office staff judged the 267 eligible entries. So the 4 that we will recognize tonight are 4 out of 267.
Awesome.
The entries were split into 4 categories: pre-K through 2nd grade, 3rd through 5th grades, 6th through 8th, and then, of course, 9 through 12 at the high school. At this time, I would ask Board Member Reese to help me with these recognitions. We are proud to announce that in the pre-K through 2nd grade category, the winner was Bethlehem 2nd grader Caroline Bowles. Caroline is, let's give her a round of applause. Caroline is the daughter of Jesse and Amy Bowles. She's in Miss Davis's homeroom, and I want to also say she's a 2nd-time winner.
She is.
She won last year when she was a 1st grader. This year, her little bird picture, was indisputably the best art we saw for her age group. Congratulations, Caroline. Please come forward. And the way we'll do this, we are going to first of all highlight each individual winner with their family members and anybody that they want to be in the picture, their principals, assistant principals, any school staff, and then, of course, we'll get the 4 winners up together for a group picture. So hang on one second, Miss Sino. And can I just say, I love your Christmas dress, Caroline. I'm all about a good dress, girl. Okay, Caroline, will you stand right here at the table and we'll get a group picture in just a minute. Thank you. Next, we will highlight the third through fifth grade winner. This student put together a great entry of Santa's Workshop. Zayden Shepard is the fifth grade son of Angela and Donald Adams. He's in Mr. Hefner's class at Stony Point. Zayden, would you please come up, and congratulations to you. Okay, Angie, Donald, family members, school staff want to join him? And I have to ask this, anybody from Stony Point, did any of you have speaking parts other than my elf friend? I recognize him, even not in his costume. Did any of you have speaking parts last night? Well, I have to know, who was Jack Frost? Jacob Feimster. Now that was
and all that silver was out of his hair and off his body. I was amazed.
I am too.
I checked when he got out of the car and I was like, how in the world?
Because he was silver, virtually head to toe. Yep, good. Let's get a picture. Way to go,
Hold on,
Zayden.
this is gonna take one.
Uh-oh, one more. Way to go.
Good job.
Thank you all. Our middle school winner entered a card reminiscent of the Clement Clark. I want to thank her for her work. Journey, come up and bring whomever you have with you tonight. Way to go. I saw Mr. Huffman. You're surely coming up, aren't you?
Yes,
Okay, good.
I'll be happy to. Yes, ma'am.
Way to go, Journey.
Great job. Good job.
Wonderful. Lastly, we have our high school winner. This student is a creative mind in Samantha Strathy's graphic design honors class and in Mr. Joseph Cornwell's ceramics honors class. Zoe Hunter is the daughter of Julie Hunter and is a sophomore at Alexander Central High School. Zoe, would you come up for congratulations and a picture? And do we have any high school staff? Oh, there she is, Miss Strathy. Fantastic. Another round of applause for Zoe. Okay, now let's get the four winners together. And winners, as we're getting in line up there, I want to remind you that I want you to meet Dr. Dal Revis in the hallway after the pictures, so don't take off. She has some paperwork that she would like to give to you, okay? So the four winners come up.
I'd rather than no offense.
No. No, beautiful.
Very good. You guys have done something tremendous. I'm very impressed.
You're famous.
One more.
One more for
Wait
the
just a
paper.
minute.
One more for the paper. And beginning tomorrow, your artwork will go all over the state. Another round of applause. Yay, yay. Scott Bowman, will you help me with the next awards? Sure. And these special ladies get a certificate and their badge, okay? Next, we're going to highlight our nationally certified school nurses. There are many reasons school nurses become nationally certified, including for personal and professional growth and to validate their expertise to the communities they serve. Many of those who have passed the Nationally Certified School Nurses exam have found that becoming certified has increased their knowledge of school nursing, giving them more confidence and helped to make them better school nurses. Congratulations are in order for 3 of our school nurses: Kendra Bowman, Elizabeth Church, and Ashley Sigmund. Each of these ladies recently cleared a big hurdle, and they are to be commended for their accomplishments. Ladies, please come forward so we can recognize you at this time. You hold them there.
Now you gotta shift.
Overload this.
All right.
Before you sit down, nationally certified school nurses are always current in their practice, methodologies, and medications. They are required to renew their credential every 5 years to establish their expertise. I know that it was a big undertaking to do what you have done. Another congratulations to you. Lastly, this is actually my recognition. I would like to recognize Mr. Kevin Britton. I don't really know how to start this recognition, but I think that the best way to do it is to say, Kevin, I prayed for you, and you were God sent. I know that for a fact. Kevin served in this school system as interim transportation director from March 29th through October 31st, and his experience and expertise has helped us take the transportation department to a new level. He was instrumental in the interviewing and hiring of our current director, Jamie Trojanowski, and he played a huge role in assisting with the transportation budget, staffing, and just leading the department. I will forever be grateful for this man, the work he has done, and the willingness that he has helped us as far as just to help us in a tough situation. Kevin Britton, I'm forever indebted. Thank you. already done this rodeo one time.
You gotta be right in front of the A. And you have to smile. You wanna do this?
There you go.
You want me to count for you, Kevin? Smile.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
We'd like to congratulate all of our card winners and also our, congratulate and commend our nurses on their achievement that they've received. And thanks again, Mr. Britton, for your help in time of need. We've reached the portion of public comment. Do we have any public comment?
Mr. Campbell, do we have any public comment?
No public comment. Okay. Board members, you have your consent agenda in front of you. What is the pleasure of the board for the adoption of the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Board Member Bowman, a second by Board Member Aguirre. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the approval of the consent agenda say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda is approved. At this time, I would like to recognize Miss Jessica Mundy, principal of Stony Point Elementary School, for our Stony Point update.
I know, I saw that timer. Oh, Chris is getting the timer ready back there. He told me there was a prize. He said there was a prize for the one that talks the least amount of time, but I've told him, like, he keeps talking about these prizes and I've never
You've
seen
never
one.
seen a prize?
But he says it's because I've never earned one. So, I don't know.
Oh,
But
that's tough.
Dr. Hefner, Chairman Robinson, and Vice Chairman Arguelles, and the rest of the board, I do appreciate you for all that you do, but also for giving me the opportunity to come tonight and talk about Stony Point Elementary School. So you will see there, that is our new logo that Keely Shea worked on last year. And so that was already in place whenever I came on board in July. So that is pretty much our new trademark. So who is Stony Point? This is our staff picture that we had made. Unfortunately, everyone is not in this picture. Ms. Robinson, who's in the audience tonight, she's not in here because she was on a bus. My custodians, they're not in there either because they'd already left for the day, and I think there's several others that are missing. But whenever this was done, I do have 231 students, including our 3 Head Start classrooms through 5th grade at Stony Point. There are, and I'm trying to see my notes because that's really far away to read, 26 certified staff. So I have 10 classroom teachers, and then our specials teachers, EC, speech pathologists. You can see the list there on your documents. I have 3 Head Start teachers, 1 Head Start EC teacher. I have a counselor, social worker, nurse, behavior specialist, our instructional coach, Ms. Faulkney, and then myself. Then I also have 28 classified staff that consists of our teacher assistants, 4 of which of the 5 do drive a bus. They drive 1 day a week. They rotate through. I have 6 Head Start teacher assistants, 1 EC teacher assistant who also drives the bus, an OT assistant, a Head Start EC assistant. I do have a site manager and a family advocate for Head Start at Stony Point, and they are both wonderful. Also have speech assistant, my cafeteria workers who are amazing, my 2 wonderful office staff, 2 interventionists who are retired teachers from the county. They come in and work 4 days a week for me, and then 2 custodians, and then we also have Officer Rowe as our resource officer. So that's a little bit about who is Stony Point, and actually Miss Bowman, that was recognized tonight, is my school nurse. So our vision and mission, this was in place before I came, and we kept it because when I met with staff over the summer, this was the reoccurring theme, to do whatever it takes and to grow the whole child. This is one of the murals that Keely Shea did last year. I'm smart, I'm important, I can do hard things. And I was waiting on the guys after they did the Pledge of Allegiance and did the moment of silence. I was waiting on them to ask you to repeat this after them. So this is something that we say every morning on the announcements. Fourth grade, however, has taken it a step farther, and instead of smart, important, and hard things, they have used some bigger, more complex vocabulary. So they actually say, I'm intelligent, I'm meaningful, and I can do complex things. So, next slide, please. So this is our makeup from last year. We are a C school. We did meet growth. However, you can see on our scores with ELA, math, and science proficiency, we definitely have some work to do, and you'll hear more about that whenever I get to our school improvement goals. One thing I did want to highlight that I found that was pretty amazing, if you look there at that bottom chart, the English learner progress, and I looked that up because I had never really paid attention to that on the NC report card. But Stony Point is well above the county and the state average for that, and I attribute that to classroom teachers, but also our EL teacher, Miss Molly Sipe. She does an amazing job, and so that proficiency there is based on their access test that they took last year. We have anywhere from 13 to 15 EL students at Stony Point, depending on the day and the transiency that we do sometimes see with our EL population. Next slide. So we have three main school improvement goals. Our first one is on behavior. You see in the middle there the picture of the 4 girls. In 5th grade, they earn dojo points. And once they get 100 dojo points, they can trade that in for lunch with me. So this just so happened to be a day that these 4 girls wanted to have lunch with me, so I did snap their picture. But our goal is that we will decrease our ODRs, our office referrals, by 25% this year. And just some things that we've done to kind of do that. The whole school does use Class Dojo. We also have a leveling system, so we have minors and majors. We had the Power of Buy training at the beginning of the year at our first staff meeting that Mr. Andy Berry and Miss Christy Starnes came in and did for us. And so we really focus on teaching those expectations of what should be taking place at different areas in our school and then what is taking place. We also have worked on our PBIS matrix. And so that is a work in progress, trying to make it more kid-friendly with some pictures and visuals for the hallway. Next slide. Part of that behavior, we do recognize pointers of the month. So these pointers of the month on the screen, we have classroom classroom nominations, and then we also have bus rider nominations. So on the screen, you see September and October's. I do have November's, and they have been placed on Facebook. They're actually in front of the Christmas tree for their picture. But these students in September were recognized for being responsible and showing those responsibility expectations that we have. And then in October, they were nominated for showing respect. And so they get a special little treat each month. So for September's, we did an ice cream sundae party. And then the kids don't know it yet, but anybody that was one of our October people, they are going to decorate Christmas cookies tomorrow. So that should be fun. I've never done that before. So I'll post some pictures and let you know how that goes. Next slide. Something new that we did start this year is we do a student spotlight. So every 2 weeks, staff nominates a student who has exhibited great behavior in one of our key areas that we focused on those 2 weeks. So our areas include playground, what are playground expectations, hallway expectations, cafeteria expectations, using the bathroom, and paper towels go in the trash can, that kind of thing. So these are recognized, they receive a certificate, they get their picture made, and they receive some kind of treat, which right now has been Airheads, which is quite the treat for elementary school kids, apparently. Next slide. These are just some pictures from our dance that we had. One of the things that school improvement team talked about was having some quarterly rewards. So this was the dance for the first 9 weeks. Anybody that did not have a major, which basically means they had ISS or out of school suspension, or 3 minor behaviors, they got to participate. So we only had a couple that didn't get to participate, Officer Rowe was our DJ, and students and staff had a blast. Next slide, please. Our second goal deals with our reading. As you saw in one of the earlier slides, our reading proficiency last year was 33.3%. So our goal is by June 2025, so we have this year and next year, is to get that up to 60%. Just some pictures there. The top two pictures are some students reading Love That Dog from 4th grade, Miss Sigmund's ELA class. That's part of our Wit and Wisdom curriculum that we use. At the bottom down there, on the bottom left picture, you see actually Miss Ryan's daughter, Alicia, Miss King now. She is doing a phonics center with her kindergartners, and then on the right-hand side, you can see it better on your screen than you can up there, but that is actually Miss Robertson, our librarian, who does a intervention group, or actually it's an enrichment group. They're reading EBOB books with her, and so kids are super excited to read with her. During PLCs, we are doing literacy instruction standards and walking through those as part of our plan to increase our ELA scores. We also had a fit night that I have some pictures of on a later slide, where we gave parents resources and different tools and strategies that they can use at home with their students to increase that reading proficiency. Next slide. Our last school improvement goal is to work on attendance. Last year, Stony Point's attendance was around 91.2% for student attendance, and this year our goal is to get that up to 95. We are currently on track. Every month we do a classroom attendance reward where K2 students and then a 3-5 class gets a special reward. They love ring pops, so that's been the go-to reward for them. And then we did do a quarterly reward for attendance. Anyone who did not miss any days, they received a freezer pop after the first 9 weeks. So we will do that again for the second 9 weeks, third and fourth 9 weeks. Just trying to get that attendance up there. Next slide, please. These are just some cute pictures from our fit night for family engagement. This was back in October, right before Halloween. We had pumpkin contests. Each grade level and classroom decorated their own pumpkins, and the kids did during Fun Friday. They have Fun Friday every Friday for an hour. The only rule is no technology. And so students got to plan their pumpkins out, and the bottom left-hand corner you can see two there. We also had our book fair going on, so that's the bottom right-hand corner. But then we did allow students to dress up in their costumes as long as it was nothing scary. So those are just some pictures for our reading family night. Next slide, please. And then there's several slides, but when you start talking about veterans, I had no idea how you choose what veterans to put on here. So these are, I think I missed a couple, but the majority of the veterans that came for our Veterans Day lunch had their picture taken. So these were grandparents, dads, aunts, uncles, neighbors, bus drivers, whomever. So you can go to the next slide. There's just some more there. And then I think there's one more slide for Veterans Day. So that was just something good. That was neat to have all these people come in for our Veterans Day lunch. And then last but certainly not least, I want to thank our community partners. They're all listed there. If I went on about all that they do for us, we'd be here forever. The pictures on there, the Stony Point Fire Department did come for Fire Safety Week, and they dressed out Miss Bouchard, first grade assistant, and then also Mr. Millsaps, our PE teacher. And then the bottom right, we had the health department, the dental clinic come and work on some students' teeth. And so that's a blessing too, to have them being able to come into the school. Next slide. Just something that I wasn't quite sure where to put, but this is some things that we started new this year. We are doing a staff member of the month where staff get to recognize their coworkers for going above and beyond. Our first one was Mr. Eric Seeley, who is our custodian. And the second one there is Miss Rebecca Bouchard, who is our first grade, well, kindergarten / first grade TA. So that is sponsored by Glenn Eckerd with Horace Mann. He provides the acrylics every month. And then on the right-hand side, those little sticky notes, I wanted just to increase culture, increase positivity around there, increase the morale. And so I had the idea of, I call them positive pop-ins. And so once a month, the teachers are tasked to go into somebody else's classroom, stay in there for like 5 minutes, see what they're doing, and then just leave them a little positive sticky note. So these are just some examples of those. Next slide.
And this is staff members going to watch other
They
staff
go
members?
to watch other staff members,
Nice,
yes.
nice.
And then they share about those at our faculty meeting. So that's part of our celebration time at our faculty meetings.
Nice.
So that is all I have. I talked fast. I don't know how long I took. I'm sure Chris will let me know. But I do want to thank you for the opportunity to share about Stony Point. And I also want to thank you for being supportive of me in this new endeavor. And Mr. Reese and Dr. Hefner for coming last night to our performance. If the board meeting would have been about 2 weeks later, you'd have seen lots of Christmas pictures on there from last night. But you are welcome to go on our Facebook page. I did put some on there, and I think the county has some on their Facebook page. But
Well, I have to say something.
yes,
Tomorrow's cookie decorating, if those cookies are obviously as good as they were last night, when the little one was more intent on finishing the cookie
yes.
than speaking her part, when she had the mouthful of cookie and she went and had to
Jill
finish.
Frost.
Listen, Jill Frost made me laugh out loud, and then I think it was her parents in front of me. So I hope that they did not get offended with my laughter, but I was about to bust whenever she gave us the wait a minute finger while she finished her cookie.
When they started the first bite, I was like, okay, that's it. And then they ate another bite, and I'm like, they're going to finish
It was
that
like
whole
they couldn't
cookie.
stop. It was like they couldn't stop, so they must have been good cookies.
I think they were just little gingerbread cookies, but anybody that wants to, you're welcome to come down to Stony Point tomorrow. Help decorate some cookies.
I got so tickled. It was a beautiful program.
It was.
Well, Miss Mundy, you know Stony Point's near and dear to me, and I love your energy, and thank you for what you're doing there.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you
Thank
do
you
every
so
day,
much.
and your staff.
Thank you, great things.
Thank you for your presentation.
And we will set up a time for y'all to come.
I already did.
Oh,
I'm going
well,
to
there you
come.
go.
I got your note when you called me back,
Perfect.
and I've picked a date that I'm going to communicate my report.
Sounds good.
Good, thank
So you can come see the school and see all our kiddos, and we'll feed you lunch.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
job.
Appreciate it. At this time, I would like to recognize Stephanie Marshall, Head Start Manager, for our Head Start training update.
How are all you guys doing today?
Good.
I'm Stephanie Marshall. I'm the RCA manager for Head Start here in Alexander County Schools. This is my first year in this role, and my first time presenting to all of you guys, so bear with me a little bit.
And this is required, by the way.
It is
So-
a requirement.
So Stephanie, I'm going to go on record as
Yes.
saying that you are required to do this with us.
I have 180 days to get this in, so here we are. So for those of you who may not know what RCS stands for, that is eligibility, recruitment, selection, enrollment, and attendance. So those are some of the many things that I'm responsible to keep up and keep track with. Next slide, thank you. I'm not wearing my glasses really well that I can see good. So on February 10th of 2015, the Head Start eligibility final rule was published that in the Federal Register, and its effective date became March 12, 2015. The new provisions were first applied in the fiscal year of 2016 under the monitoring protocol. So this means that this rule started being used in October 1st of 2015. Next slide. The purpose of this rule is to provide a roadmap for programs on how to determine eligibility for our programs, to describe documents that the Head Start program may accept to prove eligibility, and requires programs to retain records and to train staff. Next slide. So some of the new provisions are that they accept, for the following provisions listed, this rule reiterates current requirements in the Head Start program performance standards in the Head Start Act. So some new provisions for this final rule is we have the option to do a telephone interview since COVID instead of just face-to-face, while face-to-face is preferred. The way that we determine our eligibility has changed and may be changing again in January. the allowance for serving homeless children in our community, and written declarations from parents and families that are trying to enroll in our program. Next slide, please. Other new provisions is third-party verification. What that means is if someone is applying and they're saying that they are homeless, then they can provide a letter from someone else that may know them and know their situation, and that's their proof that they are in fact homeless. Program policies and procedures, including actions for violating regulations. So we do have policies and procedures in place, and we follow the school's policies and procedures to make sure that we are doing things accurately, and we're not just allowing people to come in that are not actually, I guess qualified would be the best word to say. Training for staff and governing bodies. You guys would be our governing body. So some definitions that were added to the rule were accepted, enrolled, foster care, homeless children, migrant or seasonal Head Start programs, which we are not, participant, relevant time period, verify, and then some words that were revised were enrollment, family, and Head Start eligible. Thank you. The process overview. So the new interview requirement is that they allow us now to provide an over-the-phone option or a virtual option for families as needed. Next slide. So in order to determine eligibility for Head Start families, we are an income-based program. Our job is to meet the neediest families in our community first. And while I truly believe that all families can benefit from Head Start services, we do have protocols that we follow. So we must create an eligibility determination record for each participant. And in that, we have to have copies of the documents that we've used to verify their eligibility. We have to have statements that program staff have made reasonable efforts to verify this information, and then statements that identify their eligibility determination. Next, please. This is what our previous job. This is what our Head Start eligibility verification form looks like. So in our process, I would just mark which of these that the family provided, and then the documents, copies of the documents would be attached to this document for our proof. Age eligibility requirements. So a child to enter Head Start must be 3 years old by August 31st, because that's the determined date for school here in our community. And they cannot turn 5 before August 31st. So if they turn 5 on September 1st, we could take them. At August 31st, they would be age eligible for the school system. Next, please. So income eligibility requirements. We, early Head Start works with pregnant women and children, but we do not. We only have 3 to 5. And so we would determine eligibility by their income. If it's equal to or below the federal poverty line, the federal poverty line is determined every January of each year. And then if the family is eligible for public assistance, they are what is called categorically eligible, which makes them automatically eligible for our program. Public assistance would include TANF services, SSI, and NAP services as well. Next. For our over-income families, we are allowed to enroll up to 10% of our funded enrollment with over-income families. And this is where our selection criteria would come into play, where we give families a point system based on their needs, and that's how we know if we're meeting our neediest families in our community. Next slide, please. Additional allowances for the program. If a program chooses to enroll an additional 35% of participants, it must be able to report how we're meeting the needs of the eligible families, outreach and enrollment policies and procedures, efforts to be fully enrolled, policies and procedures, and selection criteria. I apologize, I know I hear my phone vibrating. current and previous enrollments, number of pregnant women or children served, and the eligibility criteria category of each child on the waiting list. This does not apply to us because we are not a tribal, we do not serve tribal or migrant communities, so we can get that one. Categorical eligibility requirements would be if a child is homeless, if a child is in foster care, or if they receive SNAP services. This does not apply to us because we're not migrant or seasonal, so we can skip that one as well. Verifying income. So the documents that I can use to verify the income are W-2 forms, pay stubs, any type of income that they receive. It can be a written statement. It can be a statement from their employer if they do seasonal type work. Any type of income that they would receive that they can provide to me, a letter from SNAP services, a picture of their card, all of those things are considered acceptable. Next, please. Verifying categorical eligibility. So I can use a court order from DSS saying that the child's in foster care. Other legal documents or government issued documents, written statements from officials or homeless providers, school personnel, or homeless liaisons, or any other document that would not create a barrier for our families. To verify homelessness, a family may declare that they are homeless, and they can provide us a written statement saying that they are saying that they are in fact homeless. If they have other people to provide us with additional information, we try to get that as well. Eligibility duration. So if a child is eligible for our program this year, they remain eligible through next program year. They would, if they were to come into a third year, they would have to reapply, and we'd have to redetermine their eligibility. But that very rarely happens. So training. I am required to provide this training to any new staff within 90 days. And I'm required to provide this training to our policy council within, is that 90? I think that's 180 days, and then with you guys within 180 days as well. And then these are our policies and procedures, which you can go to the Alexander County's schools webpage and pull up the policies and procedures that we follow with Head Start as well. That is all. Did I meet the time limit?
You did great. You did great. You amazed me with, I think it was 24 slides in there. Stephanie, just to clarify something, I know that we have, and I typically call them slots.
Yes.
We have 100 slots
We
for
do.
Head Start and 45 for NC Pre-K.
Yes.
Who determines that we get 100 slots? Is that someone from the federal level?
Yes.
And then do we have a waiting list currently?
We do have a small waiting list, but I am always accepting applications. So, we work with children that are 3 and 4 years old. So sometimes parents get uneasy because they're 3-year-olds, they don't think they're ready. Those sort of things. Anything can happen. So I keep a waiting list and maintain it all year long. Come February is when we'll start accepting applications for our new program year, which will be next year.
Right.
And again, we would anybody that applied this year, because this gets kind of confusing, anybody that's applied this year, if they're going to reapply next year, I have to redetermine their eligibility for next year. Okay. Unless they're already a part of our program.
Right.
But if they're already a part of our program, then they get to stay on to next year, and I don't redo it. It's a little tricky.
It is. And if ever we wanted to expand and have more than 100 Head Start slots, how do you go about doing that?
Kathy, how would we go about doing that?
Well, right now, the federal government is not issuing any new spots based on the webinar that I participated in today. They are encouraging programs to use spots.
Lack of workforce? Wow. Do we have any staff vacancies in our Head Start classrooms?
I think we're fully staffed.
Fully staffed, yay. Thank goodness for that then.
So do we have an upward opportunity of 10% to get to 110 based on the 10% rule?
Say that one more time.
Do we have an opportunity, since we have a waiting list on the 100 slots that we have right now, can we Can we reach into the 10% upside opportunity that was in your presentation?
So we have actually already met our 10% program slots.
So the 100 includes.
Yes, included in the
includes
100.
10, yeah.
Okay.
Great question, Rob.
Good.
Anything else?
Any other questions? Thank you.
You're
Thank
doing
you.
a
Thank
great
you.
job
Thank you.
in this
Appreciate it.
position. I'm glad that this board got to put a face with a name, and just appreciate the work you're doing with our littles.
Oh,
Thank
I
you.
love it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
guys have-
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. At this time, I'll recognize Chris Campbell, Director of Maintenance, for a facilities update.
I'm gonna start this by saying that I am not the one that started the timing. Just a FYI, I don't know where that rumor started, but I'll plan on doing it from here on out, for sure.
Well, I want to know what the prices are going to be.
No one's ever met the timeline yet, so.
Oh, okay, it's a secret, okay.
I can see a shot clock up.
Everybody has said their time to me now, so that's good. Good evening, Chairman Robinson, Vice Chairman Arguelles, Dr. Hefner, and board members. First of all, I'd like to thank each of y'all that came out to tour the Maintenance and Transportation Department last week. Greatly appreciate that. It's always good to be able to show you the behind the scenes of where we operate and how we operate. And if you'll notice, everybody left pretty quickly after y'all got there. That's our normal day. Tonight, I'm gonna give you a couple of updates. I'm gonna start with a quick update on the Bethlehem roof project. We received the needs-based grant for the Bethlehem roof replacement, which we started as soon as school got out last year. That project is complete. And to my understanding, Mr. Draper, there's no leaks in that building at this time. So that is the first time that I can say that since I have been the Director of Maintenance.
Very good.
Okay.
Good job.
The project is under budget at this time. We are currently going to have a pre-bid meeting on Thursday to look at replacing some of the older HVAC. Sharon worked with the state on that and the eligibility of some of the funds of being able to replace some of the HVAC to continue that project. So we're working on that and getting quotes on fixing that. Any questions about Bethlehem?
And when would that be done? In the summer?
That will actually be, I've given them the option of doing it on the weekends,
Okay.
1 unit at a time, and then evenings, whatever it takes to get
Great.
it done with materials to try to get it done ASAP.
Quickly.
With little
Great.
disturbance of school.
And it's 7 units, is that what I
It's 7
remember?
units. It would be all the units along the front of the building in those units are all 30-plus years old.
They're the originals. Pretty
I'm
much.
not sure if they're originals or not. I was not here 30 years ago, but they're 30 years old.
Okay.
So I believe they were installed in 1989, so however that was.
Yeah.
If it's close to being original.
Well, then that's when the new school
Addition.
was built, because we moved into that building in 91, if I remember correctly.
So they're original to that building. Good job, thank you. Next, I'm gonna give you a progress update on Sugarloaf Elementary School. This report, I cannot take credit for preparing this report. J.M. Cope, the contractor that was awarded the bid, prepares a monthly report that they send to me, and I appreciate that as a person. This project started second week of October, demolition, and today they're 17 blocks high on the majority of the
sir.
building. It is coming up pretty quick, so
Good.
I just wanted to say, to me, I'm impressed with that. So the next slide is a few pictures where they send me updated pictures where they're digging the footers. So that's what that is. They're digging the footers and laying out and all the corners of the building and proceeding with that. Next slide. And just more of it, they had to pour and extend the gutter pipes and replace the water line. I'm actually just gonna look at it and tell you from here. And the grading and seating and continuation of pouring the footers. Next slide, please. Continuation, same thing, putting the rebar and stuff in the footers, showing the plumbing and putting all that stuff in. Next slide. Material on site, very congested space, the back parking lot. I have been amazed at the organization that they don't run over each other out there, but they have it down pat. There's equipment crossing paths constantly. Next slide, please. This was the first step to laying the block, the first step. That was November the 13th. So about a month ago was when they started laying the first blocks. And moving on, the plumber had all of his pipes up through the slabs, and they started getting ready to pour the office slabs. Next slide. Continuation, same thing, blocks going up. You can see in one day how many blocks they lay. Next slide. Just, that's continuation. Same thing, roughing in the plumbing. Next, beginning to really lay the blocks and start going up. You see all the plumbing pipes are in, ready for the pad to be poured, moving on. Next slide, please. This is actually pouring the slab for the office. So in 7 days, they were backfilling the wall and starting to pour the pad. I mean, they're moving along with the project. Next slide. Gravel in other areas. Next slide. There's a pad for the future offices after it's poured, and they're continuing on. Next slide, please. Just pretty much the same thing, the continuing on. And so I went out there today. They are 17 blocks high in the areas. They are ahead of time schedule. They are only, the best part about this, I hate to say that we haven't had rain, but the project's not been delayed because of rain, because it rained Saturday and Sunday, and they did not miss a beat. They were in there moving Monday morning. They were supposed to pour the office, the little side offices, pads. They haven't been able to do that, but that didn't slow them down. They just moved on to the next project. I think with both of these projects, something that I would like to point out is we have been, I don't know, lack of a better term, we have been blessed with two good contractors that provide updated pictures.
Yes, sir.
So when you think about it and everything else, they are on top of, both of these contractors that we use were very on top of their game, and I have been very impressed with both of them. Completion date for Strickler project is still the summer, with what we've awarded so far. Any questions?
Great job.
Yep. Thank you for that.
Thank
Great
you.
job, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll recognize Dr. Danita Dow Revis for our Family Academy update.
Good evening, Dr. Hefner, Chairman Robinson, Vice Chair Arguelles, board members. I'm here tonight just to give you a brief update on the Family Academy. So that was something that was established and born out of the idea of our strategic planning, which was year before last. And Dr. Curry headed that up. And do we have a slide? Dr. Curry headed that up, and so one of the things when we were talking with families is that they wanted to get information about high-interest topics. A couple examples I might give you would be things like apps that they should be concerned about, or at least kind of monitoring for their child on their children's phones. A lot of times they threw out ideas about financial literacy, and so from that gathering of input and so on for the strategic plan, we came up with the idea and the specific goal you see there about setting up a family academy. And you guys just revised some of the language in the strategic plan back at the October meeting that speaks to the family academy. So the work has begun in full now to try to get that going. Next, please. I just talked about a little bit about how that came to be, and the goal of the Family Academy is to try to meet the needs of the parents and families of whatever they need to know. So it could relate to a child's behavior, it could relate to their academics, how to help them in that way. Just any range of topics, it's all kind of on the table right now. Right now, Andrea Robinette is heading up the work with me, and that's because Andrea is in charge of federal programs, which, as you know, is responsible for Title I funding. And all Title I plans are required to have a family engagement piece in it. And then as communications director, some of this work befalls to me because I'm responsible for reaching the communities and families through my work. Kristen McInerney is with a group called RTI International, which is a group out of the Durham area. It's somebody that Dr. Curry plugged into when she was meeting with some of her folks, and her work is funded through state money. So we're not paying anything to have her consultation, and I'll just say I've worked with a lot of consultants, and she's brilliant, and she's so patient, and I really enjoy her help as we're trying to shape this work. So that's kind of who's sort of heading the work. And again, I mentioned RTI International. We also have a team of what we're calling a steering committee, and that team is, the steering committee is made up of our social workers, some of our counselors, our parents, our teachers, and we came together at the end of October to just meet each other and sort of say, like, here's the work we need to get done, and sort of just get going, and their work will continue, and it's a 2-year plan. So it's the district representation, RTI, and the team of social workers and so on. So you guys know there's decades and decades of research. I just tried to find a couple of the most recent things that talk about parent engagement. This one's from 2019. This one's from 2022. But obviously, when we talk about parent and family engagement, we're not just talking about, going to that parent-teacher conference. It needs to be a little deeper than that, a little more than that. For instance, do they talk about what happens at school? Do they talk about, oh, here's your space for your homework? Are there devices in the child's bedroom? So do we know that child's getting a good, decent night's sleep to be rested and ready for the next day? Or are they distracted with devices? All those kind of things are important when we talk about family and parent engagement. And so, again, we want to enable parents to be as involved as they can be with the questions that they have. So I mentioned we set up the steering committee, that our work is 2 years long, and right now I feel like we have a really good group. They were very enthusiastic at our October meeting and had lots of good ideas, and we're sort of really ready to get going. So our next work will be to work on a survey, and so we just wanted to give you an update tonight that tomorrow we will have surveys going out to parents and a second survey that will go out to staff. And they're very similar. They just ask things like, how do you want to be communicated with, what method you would like to be communicated with. And then we are also asking them, like, what do you want to know? Like, what is the content that we can prepare for you that would help empower you as a family to better help your child, be it academic, again, behavioral, social, whatever. So that's the goal, is just to get feedback from parents and staff members on what content we need to prepare. We're going to ask the principals. I have a handful here tonight, so I'm going to challenge them to get as much input as they can, because this is on behalf of the work of the district. And we'll talk later. I maybe can offer a little prize for the homeroom that has the most response. But again, this work will also inform them, because they each have to write, at least at the elementary level, they each have to write a Title I plan every year. So some of this that we're going to get will help inform their work. Okay? So what questions might you have?
Just quickly looking at your survey, it's good stuff. It's a good way for our parents and our community to get engaged and get involved. A lot of good topics. Sounds like you're addressing a lot of concerns that's out there.
And this was written into the strategic plan purposefully coming out of the pandemic. We knew that we had to re-engage everyone, staff, children, and families. And so this is part of that effort to get everybody re-engaged.
So does this mean that we will be getting quarterly updates as a result of your quarterly meetings that you would have, so we can get a feeling for how things are progressing?
I can certainly provide updates. You're talking about the steering committee?
Well, the whole workflow and how it is that the steering committee is going to formulate the strategy, and you're going to be executing that strategy, much of that with input from the community. It'd be good to see how that loop is closed.
Well, part of it would be producing the content. So, we might have a session where we have an expert come and talk about, we've talked a lot about vaping lately. We might have somebody come and talk and meet with parents about vaping. Or it could be on social, like I said, about dangerous apps or apps to be concerned about. It can take a lot of formats. Like, it could just be a matter of us publishing a link where parents can find information. The variety of content, it could be videos, it could be anything. But the first work is to get what people want to know. Like, we need to know how we can enable them to be you know, as involved as they can be with their child's education. So we want to know what they want.
Right.
So that's the first work. So that's what this survey is, and then, I mean, we can certainly produce, you know, reports for you or whatever, but you're gonna see the content that is being produced.
Well, I personally, you know, that we have a community engagement or an engagement piece on the scorecard. We could publish it on that every month.
Exactly.
Right, that was the intent, yeah.
Good.
All right,
Good.
thank you.
Thank you. Board members, we've reached a portion of the agenda for committee reports. Do we have any committee reports at this time from any board members? I know it's been a little busy with December leading into Christmas. Have been any meetings that
I
anybody?
think Budget Committee has been a hot topic for quite a bit, and I believe Dr. Hefner's office is going to give us a view on where we're at with the current assessment.
Very good. No other committee reports. All right, I'll turn it over to Dr. Hefner for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chairman Robinson. My report is a little different tonight because in the agenda, you will see more attachments than you normally do, but if you will join me on the one that says Superintendent's Report December 2023. I'll start with my first bullet. The excitement of Christmas is in the air in all of the schools. I was able to go to Ellendale Elementary School this morning. Thank you, Mrs. Nash, for that invitation. I had a total blast. So maybe I should just go on record as saying maybe December's my favorite month. I don't know. But I got to spend some time with some young men, and we had breakfast together, and that was wonderful. Christmas break will be celebrated from December 23rd through January 8th for students. January 4th and 5th are optional work days for staff, but I'm just going on record as saying it's a great time for people to rest and to catch a little bit of a different gear. And so I'm going on record as saying you should consider all facilities closed during all that time. The second bullet, I hope that you will check out the news article written by Dr. Danita Dow-Revis highlighting our reading scores in grades K through 3. I've given you the link in my report. I'm going to just read the opening paragraph of the article because this was some of the focus last week at the state board meeting. Beginning of the year reading scores are up across the state and in Alexander County. The improvements were published last week during the monthly State Board of Education meeting. The greatest gains were in first and third grades, although kindergarten and second grades saw promising results as well. In some cases, according to a state release, primary grade students have seen improvements more than double their peers nationwide. And I say that to lead into elementary teachers are finishing up a big undertaking as far as professional development that was required of every teacher. It was called letters training, of which they had a work day yesterday to continue that work. I am very proud of the elementary students and teachers. Your hard work and commitment to high quality professional development, it's paying off. Thank you for the work you continue to do with your effective instruction every single day. So shout out to our elementary folks. My third bullet is about the heat maps. So I would ask that you go to data results. That's the third attachment in your agenda. I promised that we would do our best to have the data collected from the focus group meetings disaggregated and shared at the December meeting, and thanks to some wonderful help, we've made that happen. I want to show you that a heat map simply shows the frequency of times an idea was mentioned. So when you see something that's got a green high rating, what that means is that out of the parent groups, there were 11 parent groups. Out of those 11 groups, it's rated high for the first area, and that was because it was mentioned either anywhere from 67 to 100% of the time across all of those 11 groups. The same goes for the community groups. There were 10 of those. School staff groups, there were 13, and then all staff, 15 groups that included principals and directors. So when you're looking at this, if it has a high rating, like I said, it was mentioned anywhere from 67 to 100% across all groups. Medium, it was mentioned 34 to 66% across all groups, and then 0 to 33% is low. Now, I've had that designated. I'm a visual person. I like colors to tell me something very quickly, and so that you see high is green, medium is orange, and then the low is yellow. When you're looking at the groups, you can see across all groups at a high rate was to cut or consolidate positions. Then you go to the second highest, which you see across the 4 groups. You see 3 greens or 3 highs and 1 medium to consolidate schools. Then you go on down. Now, when you see the delta marks, what that means is it wasn't even mentioned in those groups. That particular area was not even mentioned. So we have it broken out. What can we do without was the first question. The second question, which you see the groupings again across all those groups, what are you not willing to give up? And then lastly, you see again across all the same groups, what to do when we run out of fund balance. So at this point, I am taking all of this information.
Dr. Heffernan, can I ask just one question while you're there? Is it possible we could have this material put up on the screen so the folks in the room could?
It's going to be made available to them at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to go through all of this with every detail. This is something for you all to digest.
Okay.
I'm going to start my working.
So this is the foundation of everything that we're going to build on now. This is-
Everything that we build on from this point forward.
It's a map of the feedback that we got from the community, from our teachers, from our staff members, all the way across the board.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Yes. And this will be made available, like I said, in the agenda after the meeting for everybody to see. Your job for the next month or so is to just look at it, digest it, field questions to me, and this is where my work begins with the budget committee. And we start looking, obviously I read the 2 things that they felt like that had the least impact to students and their learning was to cut or consolidate positions and to consolidate schools. So, like I said, that's where the work begins, and I start working with the budget committee, and we move forward in January.
Just a comment, this is a very clear, concise, crisp way of presenting the feedback. Thank you.
Agreed. Yep.
I do agree.
That's what I wanted, for it to be crystal clear, what we were told. Okay?
Not easy, but clear.
Oh, no, it wasn't easy, but clear. Okay. So digest that, and the work begins with Budget Committee in January. My next bullet, if you'll close that attachment out, is a draft letter to the Attorney General. How many of you have seen any of the videos that Mr. Lael has released to the public?
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah. Great
How many
job.
of you could recognize a vape if you saw it in our schools?
Tough.
Sometimes it looks like that.
Yep.
Sometimes it's the string on my hoodie. Sometimes it looks like a highlighter. Any company producing these instruments that tries to say that they are not marketing for an underage group of people, they are lying. Because if they were not, you would be able to recognize a vape. And when you disguise it as all of those other things, you are marketing, you are targeting a group. And our children are the targets. Therefore, I hope you will support me in the letter that I'm planning to send to the Attorney General tomorrow, and I'd like to read it. Ms. King, if you want to, you can record this for the paper. I want everybody to know what's going to the Attorney General. I'm writing on behalf of Alexander County Schools as its superintendent, along with our Board of Education members, deeply concerned about the rising issue of vaping among underage students. Our district, like many others, has witnessed a concerning trend where companies market vaping products disguised as common school supplies, making them particularly appealing and accessible to our students. I know this is a passion of yours, as you have successfully gone after Juul and have currently targeted Puff Bar. The company Highlight has designed vapes to look like highlighters. The company Smile makes pens that can be used as vapes. And Puffit X creates vapes that look like asthma inhalers. The insidious tactic used by certain companies to package and market vaping devices as innocuous items like pens, USB drives, and many more is alarming. These deceitful practices are contributing significantly to the prevalence of vaping among our underage population, thereby jeopardizing their health and academic prospects. Because consequences are required, students caught with vapes or in the act of vaping must serve in-school suspension or out-of-school suspension based on the number of offenses. Moreover, the harmful effect of vapes, including nicotine or even marijuana and other chemicals like weed killer, endanger the students' bodies and long-term health. We have teamed with local law enforcement agencies and the health department to educate parents and the community about the dangers. While the responsibility lies with us to do our part, we urge your office to initiate active measures against companies that deliberately design and market vaping products resembling school supplies. Such predatory marketing tactics blatantly target our impressionable youth, leading to grave impacts on their health and academic performance. I also implore your office to rigorously enforce laws against stores and convenience shops who sell vaping products to underage students. These retailers must be held accountable for their actions, and strict penalties should be imposed to discourage the unlawful sale of vaping devices to minors. As the superintendent of Alexander County Schools, along with the Alexander County Board of Education, we are committed to ensuring the well-being and safety of our students. I believe that collaborative efforts between our district and law enforcement, spearheaded by your office, can and will make a substantial difference in addressing this issue. I am eager to discuss this matter further and explore potential collaborations to safeguard our students from the harmful influences of vaping. Your attention and action on this matter are greatly appreciated, and I eagerly anticipate a positive response from your esteemed office. Thank you for your dedication to upholding the welfare of our community's youth. Sincerely, Dr. Jennifer Hefner. If there are no opposing thoughts, I would ask your blessing to send my letter.
Bless it.
Do we need a motion to?
Well, really, I mean, technically, I didn't put it down as an action item, but just give me a head shake or a no. And,
Great
okay,
job.
Yeah.
agreed.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you for taking time to do that. Thank you, Mr. Lale, for doing the videos.
Yes.
Yes. It's been very informative, and it's a crisis.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Lale, the second highest amount of views, I'm glad, was the one that he did on the demos, the demo pen. And the way that these things look, I'll be honest with you. If I were at our high school, I'd be none the wiser to some of it. One would think a highlighter's a highlighter. One would think a pen's a pen. But these things are disguised. If you sit down with him in a meeting with Mr. Lale, I can guarantee you that within 30 minutes, he will have the vape detectors ringing his phone that it's going on in our high school. It's all day, every day, and it gets very tiring. And I'm ready for somebody higher than our school system
Yeah.
to do something about it.
Amen. Yeah.
Okay. Continuing on, sorry. Please mark your calendar for Friday, January 12th. That's the day that we're going to go visit Stony Point. So, Ms. Mundy, if you will, please, Friday, January 12th, we'll show up at 11:30 and get ready for you to wow us with a tour and some good food. And cookies, that's right, whatever those children were eating in the program last night, we'd like some of those cookies. And then the last thing that I have is the scorecard for the month. It is attached, it's the 4th attachment. And you will see that we declined by 4 children from October to November. You see that bus ridership is up by 87 students in the afternoons, and that's a good
Wow.
thing for transportation. You see that attendance, I'm going to say this. I hope I don't see this again, but student attendance is running at a better rate than staff attendance. And a day is a day is a day, whether you're on professional leave, whether you're sick, whether you're burning a personal leave, whatever the case is, that's a day that children don't have a certified staff member in front of them. So I hope that that's something that we'll work on in all of our schools. Family engagement, Dr. Dal Revis gave you an update with where we are with Family Academy surveys. You see that the testing, we have done great as far as we've shown improvements in grades K through 3 in reading. Staff vacancies, we have listed 4, I feel like pretty critical positions that we have vacant right now. We have a music teacher vacancy, middle school teacher, an EC teacher, and then the senior naval science instructor for the ROTC program. Discipline, you can see some improvements there. And then lastly, the exceptional children, 504s, and health plans. Does everyone understand the difference in a SLAP assessment and a threat assessment? Nobody asked me about that last month, but I will offer an answer on that if somebody is confused about what a SLAP assessment is and what a threat assessment is. From the board, anybody with questions?
It'd be helpful just to go through it.
Okay. A SLAP assessment is a term given to potential suicide threats.
Okay.
A threat assessment is just that, when a threat is made towards someone else or a school or something of that nature. But the SLAP assessment is a term that's given to a potential suicide threat. So hopefully that will help you in better understanding what's being reported for those 2 areas each month.
Very concerning, especially the SLAP number.
Knowing what that is concerning.
Yeah.
We had 7.
Yeah.
7 in the system during the month of November.
Now, obviously, we have confidentiality issues and such, but is there overall views of what the main drivers and issues and what we can do about helping those children?
I don't know that we can, other than to do our very best to try to keep people employed to work with them. That's very critical. That's where we have hired, the social workers, the nurses, the behavior specialists.
Right.
And you see that our children have needs in those areas.
And one more question. Your attendance on staff at 90%, what is your expectation of where the organization should be running in terms of attendance?
Well, my expectation for students is 95% and above. So I can't imagine that I would hold an expectation any lower for staff.
Gotcha.
Have you seen it this low before?
We really haven't been tracking it before this.
Okay.
Again, this goes back to pandemic.
Sure.
Yeah.
And every meeting that I'm in, attendance is an issue. But when you are not in attendance, it's very difficult to be engaged.
Yes.
Yeah.
So since the pandemic, this is just an area, attendance, behavior, academics. We're closely monitoring all those things.
And that ties to testing scores and progress in improving our kids.
Sure.
Absolutely. You got to show up to get the work.
Agree. Other questions?
Back to your heat map.
Yes.
Is the Facebook page gonna share that? Can we share that? Is it going in the paper? Because the community needs to, what's the plan on that?
Is it not already in public view on the agenda? I thought it was.
Oh, okay,
It's
okay,
actually
wonderful.
on the board docs.
It's already there.
So anybody
Good.
watching, if they go to the board docs, go to the
Good.
meeting agenda, click the attachment, it's there,
It's there.
under data results.
Good.
Data results PDF.
Good.
That's fine, but I mean, is it okay for me to share it on Facebook, is what I'm asking?
Oh, yes, it's a public
Okay.
document.
All right.
Anything in your agenda is after, some things are in executive view until after we finish the
Right.
meeting, and then we put it in public view, but everything on the agenda is always public.
Okay. Thank you.
And Dr. Dal Revis, I would ask that you make sure that you publish this on social media as well.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you for your patience. I know I had a long report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. This time I'll recognize Sharon Mahaffey, our Chief Financial Officer, for second reading of board policy revisions.
Okay, we have 3 policies up for second reading tonight. I would ask for approval for, policy number 6402, participation by historically underutilized businesses, and 6430, purchasing requirements for equipment, materials, and supplies. And I will bring back, policy 6315, drivers, next month with some additional revisions.
Okay, board members, do we have a motion to pass board policy 6402 and 6430 tonight?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by board member Reese, second by board member Ryan. Is there any other discussion on those policies? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Like signs. They carry.
Okay, the next policies up for approval are the policies that deal with the Parents' Bill of Rights, parent involvement, parent inspection of objection to instructional materials. We did make a small change to this. We added that the form that parents can fill out to review material or to oppose the material can be filled out in digital form. That was just a clarification. Comprehensive health education programs, criminal behavior, survey of students, student health services, staff responsibilities.
Thank you, Ms. Mahaffey. Board members, what's the pleasure of the board for the adoption of policy 1310, 3210, 3540, 4335, 4720, 6120, and 7300?
Motion approved.
Second.
Got a motion by board member Aguirre, second by board member Dagenhart. Is there any further discussion on these? If not, all those in favor of the approval of these on the third and final reading, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Policies carry. Thank you.
Kathy Caldwell's ill, so Sharon's going to present.
Okay, that's why I seen her standing. I was looking, I was like, okay. I'll recognize Ms. Mahaffey for our ice cream bid update then,
Okay.
in place of Ms. Cottle.
Yeah, we hope Kathy's feeling better real soon. But we sent out a request for bids for ice cream. We ran ads in the Taylorsville Times for 2 weeks. We put it on our webpage, which you may have clicked on our webpage, and that policy kept, every time you would go in there, it would be, we're doing ice cream bids. We had 1 bid returned, and that was WNC Ice Cream Distributors. The owner is Nathan Johnson. It's a Morganton company, and he gave a favorable bid for ice cream. So we would ask for your approval.
Board members, what?
That was the only bid?
The only bid.
Wow. Okay.
There is one of the food vendors that Kathy uses does have ice cream, but they were not interested in bidding. If we decided to purchase from them, the cost is higher. So
Okay.
this was the low comparison.
And have we assessed the quality, and you're presenting, you're not the source of it, just, is the quality commensurate or better?
Well, all I can say is, the ice cream bar I had the other day was excellent quality. I think I have researched that pretty good. You're an expert on that. Ice cream is one of my favorites.
There you go.
Ice cream expert
Yeah.
and chief finance
It's a
officer.
universal criteria of bad ice cream.
You know, and I think the ice cream being back in the cafeteria, and we've already been told that, but it's been a huge hit. Students are glad, I mean, not that any of them experienced it in their lifetime, but it's good
My
to
kids
see
eat
them
every day.
doing it.
Good,
Yeah.
good. And maybe we can have some when we go to Stony Point.
Yeah.
Well, we only do ice cream, but I think I'm probably,
There we go.
Excellent. Thank
Is there any other questions? Any other questions on the ice cream bid? What's the pleasure of the board for the adoption of the bid?
Second.
Motion by Board Member Aguirre, second by Board Member Ryan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bid is carried. I'll recognize Ms. Mahaffey again for our 2023-24 Alexander County School budget.
Thank you. You may want to bring up your tablet and to the portion on the board and look at the different budgets as I go through. I think that will be easier than trying to flip back and forth. And this is also now in public view on the board agenda. The total budget this year is $69,249,993. To understand how our budget is done, we have to understand fund accounting. Fund accounting is different than any type of accounting that's done in a public venue. The primary difference is the use of funds. There are some differences in terminology. Private enterprise has expenses and returned earnings, while governments have expenditures and fund balance. And of course, governments have a lot of regulations. The first budget we're going to look at is our state public school fund. This year, the state public school fund is $36,761,452, and it composes 53.09% of our budgets. Most of these funds are mostly used for instructional positions. All the PRCs are based on ADM. So when we have a decrease in ADM, we have a decrease in funding. Funds are approved by the General Assembly in the state budget, and funds remain with the state treasurer. We never receive that $36 million. We have a dispersing account with the state treasurer's office, and when we either write a payroll or we do regular AP checks, we tell them how much money we need for them to put in our dispersing account to cover the checks. There are two types of allotments. There are position allotments. Oh, well, I guess this would be a good point to bring out, that most school districts have between 25 and 30 different state allotments. We call them PRCs, Program Report Codes. And each one of those program report codes tells us what we can spend, specifically what we can spend those funds for. We have two types of allotments we have in the state fund. We have position allotments, and that would be teachers and instructional support personnel. In a position allotment, the state gives us whatever that position cost us. And if there's an increase in benefits or salary, the state covers that. However, when in our dollar allotments, we get a certain amount of money, and we have to make that cover positions. The benefits this year, which is always a driver in our budget, Retirement is now 25.02%. That's up 0.52% from last year. And health insurance is $7,557, and that's an increase of $160. And the way to look at this, and it's mind-boggling to me, is that for every dollar we spend for a salary, we pay an additional 25%, additional %, a quarter of that in retirement. That's huge. The salary increases for this year, the certified scale teachers and instructional support personnel received a step increase plus an increase in the salary schedule, which made the increase for the individual between 2% to 7.7%, depending on the years of the educator experience. And classified staff and principals received 4%. If you'll notice, if you look in your state budget, you'll notice that we did receive an increase. But like, if you look at non-instructional support personnel, last year we received $1,383,832. Now, we talked about that. People that were in that category received a 4% increase plus a 25.02 retirement plus health insurance, and we only received $11,674 increase for this year. So although it was an increase, it was really a big, big decrease when you consider that we're trying to make that amount of money stretch over the same number of people we had in that PRC last year. So what happens when we run out of the statement, we have these people, and I'm trying to stretch it, to get the same number of people, and I can't. So the only place I have to go with that is the local budget. So that causes an increase in the local budget. Another little problem we have with the state budget is that we are allotted on an ADM basis. If, after the second school month, we have a decrease of 100 or more students, then we have to refund the money for those students to the state based on a formula they have. And we could be reverting 100 and a little in an excess of $150,000 back because of that decreased enrollment, because we are right on the cusp of 100 student decrease. Okay, the local current expense fund. The main allocation to the local current expense fund is county appropriation. Also included there, or if you want to click to that budget, is fines and forfeitures that are paid through the county clerk, or sometimes law enforcement will send us a forfeiture, and fund balance. The general expense fund this year is $8,453,025 and composes 12.21% of the budget. Okay, in 2023-24, we received $7,383,428 from the county. That was an increase of $66,000. The $66,000 was to cover the match for our SRO grant, or the 6 positions that the county, for the schools that are in the county. The school, Taylorsville, and the high school are in the town, so they provide the resource officers for those schools. The state gives us $44,000 for each SRO at the elementary schools, but we have to match it with $11,000. Thankfully, the county appropriation increase covered the match that we need. However, there were no additional funds allotted to cover increases in salary, the increases in benefits, the increases in supplement, or the inflating cost of operations. If you'll notice, the major increases in Fund 2 were non-instructional support personnel, $233,436. Remember, I said that's where we got $11,000 in state funds. Well, this $233,000 allows us to cover the same number of people that we had last year. The school building administration increased $196,565. At-risk student services increased $175,367. The operation of plant increased $196,150, and local supplements increased $103,466. Okay. If the county appropriation in the fines and forfeitures does not cover what we need in the current expense budget, then we have to rely on fund balance. As of June 30th, 2023, our fund balance was $1,905,388. The appropriation in the budget this year is $950,089. And the major drivers that are included in that $950,089 are the increases in salary and the loss of ESSER indirect cost. And now, Andrea Robinette will, our federal programs director, will discuss federal budgets. Get it all.
You're good.
Okay, that's okay. I got it.
So Sharon just asked me to speak about the part related to the federal grant fund. Federal grants are a little bit different. They're handled annually, and all of the federal grants flow through DPI. Federal grants include our Title I funding, EC funding through IDEA, and also Title VI-B handicapped. We receive money for Title II, which is educator improvement, teacher quality, of course, ESSER funds. All those are examples of the different funds that we receive, the federal funds, but if you look at the federal budget, you can see some of the other ones. There are some CTE funds there as well. What happens is Alexander County Schools submits, we write a grant to the state, and then there are program administrators that work for DPI who approve our grant, and then we have to submit a budget that goes with the grant, and they make sure that all of our spending or what we plan to spend aligns with the application. They have to be approved and they have to be allowable expenditures. So everything has to line up and match and get approved through DPI before we ever get any of that money. And just like Sharon explained previously, the money doesn't come directly to us. It's housed with the state treasurer, and we have to order it ahead of time when we're ready to spend it. On your copy of the federal budget, I just want to point out the Title I, which is PRC 050, PRC 50. Last year it lists 0. When the budget was created last year, we didn't have the allotment yet. The budget was completed earlier in the school year, and sometimes we don't have final allotments amounts when the budget was created. But I looked it up. The Title I budget amount last year for our school district was $1,445,842. So very comparable to the amount that we got this year for Title I. And then if you look there, you'll see all the ESSER PRCs are listed closer to the bottom, beginning at PRC 165, and you can see the red with the difference because the ESSER funds are expiring. And as they are expiring, then we're seeing a decrease in those funds, obviously. We are on track to have all of our ESSER funds spent by June of 2024. We can take up until September if we need to, but the budget and the plan that we've created spends the money by June. And for reference, we are on par with the state average for spending. The average is that across the state there is 17% remaining for districts, and we have 16% of our funds remaining. So we're right there with the state or with other districts across the state for the amount of funds that we have remaining. And as you will know, we have some positions that are being paid out of ESSER. As people leave those positions, as they are becoming vacant, we are not rehiring or refilling them.
Okay, our next fund is the Capital Outlay Fund, and this is the fund where, that covers the acquisition of real property, construction, renovation, and replacement of buildings and furniture, and the purchase of vehicles. The Capital Outlay Fund at this time is $8,099,759 and comprises 11.7% of the budget. I received a email from the Office of Budget and Management yesterday. Now, what happens with the state budget is the legislature passes the budget, and very little money is released until the Office of State Budget and Management certifies the budget. I'm assuming that certifies the budget means that they want to make sure there's enough money out there to cover the expenses. But anyway, that we should be getting 2 grants, one for $100,000 for improvements and renovations to the field house, and another one for $2.5 million for turf and renovations at the stadium. Now, what the next steps on this grant, it will be a while before we actually get the money, because the next step is that we will have to write a scope of work for these 2 grants. And then the Office of Budget Management will have to approve them. And then we report quarterly to the Office of Budget and Management what we have completed on the project. So when we actually get this money, then I will do a budget amendment to place that in the budget.
Ms. Mahavy, what was the total of those 2? I didn't get the second number.
It's 2.5 million and 100,000.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The next fund is the Child Nutrition Fund. Are there any more questions about that?
You said we've applied, we just don't know when. Or we've
Well,
sent.
actually, we just got official word yesterday that we got the grants.
Got it, okay. We
So
just
then
don't know
we'll
when.
have to write
Okay.
the scope of work.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. I know there's been some questions about that because it was in the budget. And that now people understand that there's a process to go through to get there.
It takes a little time. You're not letting bids when the budget passes, anyway. Okay, the next fund is the Child Nutrition Fund, and of course that's food service, and they operate and are fully self-sufficient. Let's see, I don't think I gave you that. It's $4,434,970, and it composes 6.4% of the budget. Then the before and after school care is a small but important part of our budget. It's $297,337, and it's 0.43% of the budget. I will say that during the COVID time frame, that Sandra Miller, the director of this program, applied for lots of grants that were out there, and she was able to do some important work with improving the classrooms, improving the playground facilities, and offering some additional benefits for her staff. Okay, and the final fund is Fund 8, and this fund has a myriad of things. It's grants, Medicaid, E-rate, and sales tax reimbursement, rental income, interest income, indirect cost, tuition and out-of-district fees, and other miscellaneous revenues such as ABC board revenues, when we get them. The best example that I like to use for Fund 8 is our activity bus account. When a school uses an activity bus, they pay for that use by the number of miles they traveled. We put that in Fund 8, and there is, of course, the revenues and the expenses for maintaining the buses, that sort of thing. Then we keep that money, carry their fund balance forward every year until they get enough money or need to purchase a bus. And then that money is used to purchase a bus. Driver's Ed does that to purchase their cars, and other things. The amount of money in that fund is $3,766,254. And it is 5.44% of the budget. These budget documents are on the board agenda, and I will post them on the finance department website. And that can be accessed by, of course, going to the Alexander County Schools website under departments and then finance department.
What's your opinion on why they decreased to from 1.4 million to $11,000? The state. What's your opinion on that?
And I'm not really.
In your first section, you talked about the decrease of money allotted. We only gave us $11,000.
It wasn't a decrease, actually. If you look at that chart, and I'm jumping in here.
That's okay, that's fine.
It was for that particular PRC, and I think it was for support staff,
Yes.
Yeah,
correct?
support staff.
What she did was she took the 23-24 allotment and compared it to the 22-23 allotment, and it had only increased by $11,000.
All right.
And what Sharon was saying is, with the increase in benefits alone, across all the people paid out of that PRC, $11,000 didn't touch the increase we were looking at.
Okay.
And that's why she had to dip into our local allocation
Okay.
to make up the difference. Because you don't have the option of just using the money you're given and then you stop. Whatever happens, happens across the system to whoever's in that PRC.
Okay.
And
One of the largest impactors on what we're looking on the difference is on PRC number 65, or 56, excuse me, I transposed my numbers there. The transportation, $400,000 increase. I think it's an increase, but I think that's a good news story there on that one, yeah?
It is a very good news story. And remember that you have that,
Efficiency rating? Efficiency rating.
Efficiency rating, and the things that affect that are the number of students riding, the amount of money you spend, and the number of buses you operate. And when you control that, you increase your efficiency rating and you get more money.
More money.
But the sad news is, for the system, not for transportation. Transportation is wonderful. But that 400,000 increase can only be spent in transportation.
Yep.
So it's not like, yay, the system got an extra $400,000. One piece of the system got the increase.
And a question on the school resource officers, the $300,000 increases, that's self-evident that we staff resource officers at every school to keep our kids safe, yeah?
And that's
And
with
that's from the
grant
state.
money. That's that $44,000 per officer from the state. And that 66,000 extra dollars that we got in our local allocation was just the grant match that we agreed to when we applied for the grant. It was a 4-to-1 match. 4 from the state, 1 from the local.
Well, let me say this also, that when you have, like, we were funding transportation out of local funds. You know, they don't have enough money to operate. We have to come up with local funds. And this year, I estimate that we will not need to give them any local money for their operation, for the actual operation
And that's
of the
great
buses
news.
and-
Yeah, that's great news.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Ms. Mahaffey on the budget? Thank you for the work you put into it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the pleasure of the board for the adoption of the 2023-24 school budget?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Board Member Ryan, a second by Board Member Dagenhart. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the approval of the budget, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Budget is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I will recognize Dr. Hefner for the election of the board chairman.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Robinson. At this time, I would like a motion to open nominations for the position of board chair.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion from Mr. Dagenhart,
Second.
second from Scott Bowman. Okay, at this point, the floor is open for nominations.
I nominate Rob Arguelles as chair.
Rob Arguelles. Any other nominations? I ask that someone close nominations.
I move we close nominations.
Second.
Okay, any discussion before we move forward? All in favor of Rob Arguelles serving as the chairman of the Alexander County Board of Education for the upcoming year, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No. It passes, thank you. And at this point, new Mr. Chair, I'll turn the rest of the meeting to you.
So the next step on the
And the
agenda-
gavel.
Oh,
You get to whack that.
myself. Thank you. The next point on the agenda is the election of the board vice chairman. What is the pleasure of the board in proceeding?
Motion to proceed.
Second.
So Mr. Dagenhart first,
Yes.
and Mr. Robinson second?
Yep.
Very well. So we shall open the floor to nominations for a nominee for the vice chairman position. Do we have any nominations?
I nominate Matt Reese.
Do we have any other candidates being nominated for vice chairman? All in favor of?
You have to close nominations.
Okay, so therefore I close nominations
No,
at
no,
this
no, you
point.
asked for someone to close for you.
I make a motion we close nominations.
Second.
Any
Got a little
discussion?
excited there to get started.
Any discussion?
Okay, all in favor of Mr. Reese as vice chairman of the board? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show that we had unanimous agreement for Mr. Reese to be the vice chairman of the board. Congratulations, Mr. Reese.
Congratulations, Rob.
And so as we go forward with the next step will be committee assignments. We have a number of committees in place that have already been assigned. They're part of the permanent record for 2023, 2024 assignments. Need to be defined. The expectation would be that we will have that list compiled, assignment roles for each particular board member to agree to those assignments, and to be published and discussed with our community at the upcoming board meeting in January.
Well, yes, but these current assignments, which you have in your agenda, were good for 2023. Then they will communicate to you or to Deborah their desire to serve on the different
But
areas.
that's what I said, we will, for 24, we're gonna recompile new list, and
Yes.
I'll have a conversation, if there are any changes, with all board members according to all of the assignments.
Yes,
And that task is to be undertaken over the course of the next 3 weeks, so that by the time we go into 24, we have a clean list to be shared in the 24 board.
yes.
So this concludes our open session.
Yes.
So now as we are ready to enter into closed session, this board meeting is closed. We need a motion to close the meeting.
I make a motion we close the open meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?